So I want to start off by thanking Marlon and Heidi for your work on this process and Noah for your legal counsel along the way. But a special shout out to Marlon for your tireless work to help groups and the public navigate this process. And I certainly want to thank everyone that spoke this afternoon, taking your personal time to share your thoughts. Today concludes a journey that was started back in January 2021, a journey driven by the city attorney's interpretation of the city charter, as well as a grand jury report. In addition, prior to my election to office, I watched with dismay as some heavy-handed attempts by past council members who did not look favorably upon community groups and were considering draconian regulations and even considering elimination. As a former member of my community planning group for 8 years and 5 years as chair, a thoughtful update to Council Policy 600-24 was my #1 priority upon taking office. My office began work with the City Attorney's Office, with City Planning, with community groups, and with the Community Planners Committee. And this effort culminated when the update to 600-24 was adopted by the City Council in the fall of 2022. I certainly want to give a shout out to my former Deputy Chief of Staff, Kathleen Ferrier, and her tireless work to bring the update to fruition, thoughtfully, carefully, and community-centered. Updating the policy was not a task to be taken lightly. Community planning groups have been a voice in our city for nearly 60 years. And in fact, the city of San Diego was the first municipality to embrace the concept of a structured public input. Today, they represent some 42 communities with some several hundred volunteers who meet at least monthly to talk about land use, infrastructure, traffic calming, and much more. Updates to 600-24 are not new. There were updates in 2007, 2014, a cycle of every 7 years. Seems like a good governance and prudent reevaluation. So today is a very big day. Today represents a collective effort of every community to update their bylaws, now called operating procedures, to comply with the updated policy. So I want to thank the 39 community groups that pivoted, updated their bylaws to comport with the policy, the new policy, and now will operate with a renewed sense of purpose, filling their group with individuals that reflect the demographics of their community by increasing outreach and lowering the threshold to qualify to be a candidate. I also appreciate the refinements to the policy introduced with today's action based on lessons learned over the past several months. At committee in March, I noted concern with the Brown Act compliance language and requested that city planning and the city attorney work with my office to clarify that language. The new language, as part of today's action in the council policy, opens the door for community planning groups to opt into virtual or hybrid meetings if they have the technical equipment and skills to ensure that everyone who wants to participate can participate. This is a personal choice that we leave to each community group. If a group is not interested, it can continue to operate in person following Brown Act provisions. And if a group would like to opt into virtual meetings, the group can update their operating procedures to do so. So I just wanted to confirm that if they do update their operating procedures, they do not need to come back to council. City planning will just review that for compliance. Is that correct, Marlon?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you for confirming that. So as was mentioned in the presentation, this is a change that's been asked for by many groups, including ones in District 1. Thank you to everyone who worked with my office on these updates. Now to the selection of the application operating procedures for the community of La Jolla. I thank all the volunteers that participated in filing each of the applications. As was mentioned earlier, I did not meet with either group in the preparation of their documents or upon submittal to the city. Why? Because the decision was not about the individuals who submitted an application. For me, this is about the operating procedures, how it adhered to the to council policy, and where would be the best fit for that particular community. It is not about what individuals or groups think about where their community has been, is today, or their vision for the future. It is solely about the compliance with the policy and who the community will elect to fulfill the membership of the recognized group. This is also not about looking backwards, but opening up the election process for easier and greater participation, about greater outreach, allowing everyone to vote, about lowering the threshold for the candidates. Some of the criticisms you heard about the La Jolla Community Planning Association, in fact, were valid about the past. They had very strict rules about who could vote and who could run for a seat. Those have been stripped away. That's why I made the point last time, and I'll repeat again, we need to be careful about demographics that are reported in the staff report in detail today. This is not about the demographics of a group operating under the old policy and the old bylaws that have now been canceled. It is the potential of who can run for a seat and be elected under the new policy and the new operating procedures. I should note that the individuals in the competing application may have had a difficult time getting elected under the old rules, but under the new rules, the election landscape is now wide open. As noted in the staff's review and today's presentations, the difference between the two of the La Jolla community applications and their operating procedures are effectively negligible. Again, the decision is about the applications, not about the individuals who filed them. Bottom line, if you don't like the choice ratified by the council today, if you don't like those who sit on your planning group, organize, run for the seats in annual elections, and that is what the key to the update to the council policy is all about. We have stripped away onerous and unproductive bylaws, making it easier to run for office, easier to vote, and a greater voice for the community if they want to step up. And I'll leave it to my colleague to speak to the right choice for the uptown community. And with that, I will move the staff recommendation with the recognition of the La Jolla Community Planning Association as the official planning group of La Jolla, and the Uptown Community Planning Group, also known as Vibrant Uptown, as the official planning group of Uptown.